Hi, I'm Tim Campbell, the Winnipeg Free Press sports staff, joined by our columnist, Gary Lawless. We're here at the MTS Centre on Free Agent Frenzy Day, Canada Day. It's late in the afternoon here, Gary, and there have been some developments in Jetland today, surprising a little bit to me, but I think topping the list today is the return, or the impending return, of forward Alex Burmistrov from Russia. Thoughts on that matter today?
Yeah, not too much of a surprise. We spoke to Mike Liut, his agent, throughout the winter, and he kept sort of saying that Alex was warming to the idea of returning to the NHL, and really it was the Jets and Kevin Cheveldayoff who were a little more standoffish, at least in their public approach. But I think they knew they could. They eventually signed him for 2 years, average annual value of $1.55 million, I believe.
That's right.
So I think they knew they could get him for a pretty reasonable dollar. And when Michael Frolik left, for sure, which happened today, he went and signed in Calgary for $21.5 million over 5 years. I think getting Burmistrov done became kind of a no-brainer. They need a player to replace Frolik in the lineup, and Burmistrov has some of the similar attributes. He's a good skater. He can kill penalties. He can play up and down your lineup. He's not the player that Frolik is, or hasn't shown to be the player that Frolik is, that's for sure. But he's younger and way cheaper right now.
How much do you think this return has to do with Alexander's bank account?
Well, the rubles are not what they once were worth. So I don't. You did the math. I think in order to have signed to get the same kind of money in Russia, how many rubles?
173 million rubles.
I don't know if Alex Burmistrov is 173 million ruble player. So I think a lot of that plays into him returning to the Jets, and now he's here.
Michael Frolik, as you mentioned, has fled Winnipeg, and he has signed a 5-year deal with the Calgary Flames. Is this a mistake for the Jets, or do sometimes you just have to swallow hard and get on with your youth movement?
I think the mistake was made last summer. I think they could have had him for 3 or 4 years at in between 3 and 4 million at that point in time. I think they should have done the deal then. They gambled, and the player, there's no other way to put it, he went and had a great season, and that his market value increased to the point where the Jets were not going to pay him the kind of money they wanted or give him the term. Their offer was believed to be around 4 years, 16 million, so 4 and 4. He signs for 5 at 4.3, so it doesn't seem like a lot from the outside, but at some point in time, sides become intractable, and it became impossible to do. There is another factor here that we don't know about. Carl Soderberg signed on the weekend with the Colorado Avalanche for 5 years and $23.5 million. Michael Frolik's a better player. As soon as that deal was done, it looked like Frolik was going to get 5 and 5. And I think the Jets at that point in time probably said to themselves, let's put our money into Drew Stafford. They went and did that, and then the market may have collapsed a little bit on Frolik, and maybe the Jets could have had him for closer to what they wanted, but they'd already committed that money to Stafford, probably took themselves out of the battle. So maybe the agent, Alan Walsh, overplayed his hand a little bit. In the end, he gets a great deal for Frolik, and Frolik moves on to Calgary, but I'm not sure that a deal couldn't have been done with Winnipeg.
A good deal for Michael, indeed. And we are going to hear a lot of chatter about that, I'm sure, in the coming weeks about what the Jets should or shouldn't have done. That's all water under the bridge. It can't be changed now. There's a lot of water coming to the bridge, and as the window opens today for players whose contracts will expire next July 1st, now extensions can be negotiated, and we're talking about Andrew Ladd, Dustin Byfuglien, even Jacob Trouba, Mark Scheifele, and Adam Lowry. My understanding is, and you've talked to some of the parties, that the Andrew Ladd thing is well on the tracks here. That could be a pretty important signing for the Jets if it's going to happen.
It will happen, and it's the first domino that has to fall. They have to get that deal done before they can start to look at what else they're going to do. Expect it to be 6, maybe 7 years. I think the team wants 6, the player wants 7, and the average annual value will be in the neighborhood of $6 million, maybe a little more than that. So once that deal gets done, then you turn to Dustin Byfuglien. And I spoke to Ladd's agents today, and they said that both the team and Ladd lads' agents, they agreed to put this on the back burner for today because both sides had so many balls in the air. They'll return to that in the next couple of days, and the quote was, negotiations have gone very, very well. So
An extra very in there.
2 varies.
Okay.
Yeah, So that deal will get done. Then you turn to Dustin Byfuglien, and I think 5 years is the term that the team wants to do. We'll find out a lot about Dustin Byfuglien and his future and what he wants, because Mike Green got 3 years and $6 million today. I think Dustin Byfuglien, you hear the number $8 million out there. That's a huge number. A lot of that will depend on term. If he wants to play for 6 or 7 more years, $8 million's a lot for him. So we'll find out how that one works. Trouba and Scheifele and Lowry they're still in their entry level deals.
They are.
Yeah, so they come out of their entry level deals. They're restricted free agents without arbitration rights, so they really have no leverage. Trouba has leverage in the fact that if he says
He's a
to
good
the
player.
Jets, if he says to the Jets, "I'm not coming to camp," their team is in big trouble. This is a very, very important piece. They could get by without maybe one of Lowry or Scheifele for a time, but Trouba he's got the hammer. So expect him to want a max deal for max dollars, and expect him to get it. And I don't know if it happens if they extend him this year, or they'll probably want to wait. They'll probably want to get him, it doesn't matter because his entry-level contract still fixed.
Right.
So they could do that whenever they wanted, do an extension for him. He's the first chip to fall in that area. And Scheifele obviously is an important player, and then Lowry comes after him. But Trouba's going to be their number 1 defenseman here at some point in time, maybe as soon as this year. He might
Couldn't agree more.
He might play with Dustin Byfuglien, and he's ready to take even a bigger bite out of the scene for the Jets. So that guy, he has leverage.
There's lots of news to come down the pipe in the days ahead. Stay tuned to the Winnipeg Free Press and winnipegfreepress.com for all the updates on the Jets and the NHL.